Well, Merry Christmas, Adam, to you all. That's one of those grenade jokes that you throw out there and then let people realize what I just said. So if you understand that, feel free to either shoot me an email or just laugh silently to yourself, or as my kids do, you can just roll your eyes because it's a really dumb joke. I haven't done summer scraps in a while, and I had some things I wanted to share from our Christmas Advent series that we did. As a brief reminder, we spent the past 4 weeks looking at one verse, Isaiah 9:6. It says, "For a child will be born for us, a son will be given to us, and the government will be on his shoulders. He will be named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, and Prince of Peace." Now, all of these we know are supposed to be focused on Jesus. And I've obviously taken a slightly different approach to this, to talking about the Trinitarian nature of all of these things. And one of the things that we need to be aware of when we're talking about God and the persons of the Godhead is something that is known as inseparable operations. That is, if one person of the Trinity is doing it, then we can say all of the persons of the Trinity do this. Like a quick brief example of this. Is it okay for us to say something like God died? On the one hand, yes. But could you say the Father died? No, that would be wrong. It's more precise to say the Son died. And the Son is God, the Father is God, and the Holy Spirit is God. But they are not all, the Son is not the Spirit is not the Father is not the Son. So it gets somewhat complex and confusing, and language matters in the midst of some of these stories. Like there was even an early church debate, like very fierce debate, on whether it was appropriate to refer to Mary as the God bearer. Like, so can you say Mary gave birth to God? And they decided the answer was yes, she is the God bearer. And so, like, there's different ways of approaching or nuancing this. So the four words: Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Like two of those, I really emphasized other persons of the Trinity in it, specifically Counselor, and then the Everlasting Father, focusing on God the Father. So some of what I want to draw your attention to first is Counselor. When we talk about Counselor, we went to John, the Gospel of John, where Jesus says he will give another Counselor to you, and I think that part is important because John 14:16 says, "I will ask the Father; He will give you another Counselor to be with you forever." So what Jesus is doing there is saying He is the first Counselor. Once He leaves, He's going to send. He's going to give another Counselor who's going to be able to do even more than what Jesus was able to do. So it's not inappropriate to say that Jesus is the fulfillment of this messianic prophecy when it's saying that he is the first counselor, moving then to the Holy Spirit as a second counselor. But the one that may have been confusing to you is, how is Jesus the everlasting Father? Isn't that referring to God the Father? Well, to understand what is actually taking place here, we need to read a little more in context what's taking place here. And specifically, we need to read 2 Kings chapter 16. Now, we were in Isaiah. Why am I talking about 2 Kings? Because Isaiah is prophesying during King Ahaz's reign. So in 2 Kings chapter 16, it actually has this story. It says, "In the 17th year of Pekah, son of Remaliah, Ahaz, son of Jotham, became king of Judah." And then it goes on from there to recount some of Ahaz's works. But what is specifically taking place here is there's two kings that are joining forces to try to attack Ahaz. And Isaiah explicitly tells Ahaz to trust in the Lord, and explicitly even says, ask the Lord for a sign, something that will guarantee that you can trust in God. But instead of trusting in God, Ahaz instead reaches out to Tilgath-Pileser. So here's 2 Kings 16:7. It says, Ahaz sent messengers to King Tilgath-Pileser of Assyria, saying, "I am your servant and your son." So what many people would do at the time is, in order to denote, like, so Ahaz is the king, he's reaching out to this other king. In order to note that he is like a subservient king to Tilgath-Pileser, he's referring to himself as a son, calling Tilgath-Pileser his father. So when Isaiah is talking and referring to this coming child that will be an everlasting father, it's another way of talking about Jesus' rule and reign over everything that is taking place. So I thought that was fascinating and very interesting to me. So again, I focused on the God the Father part with that, but I thought it'd be helpful for you to hear some of that bigger context of what was taking place behind the scenes in what Isaiah was talking about here. Now, that being said, I've got a few announcements for us to just keep you aware of on some things that are going to be going on over the next few days at our church. First is Christmas Eve is tomorrow. So if you are now putting pieces together, Christmas Adam is today because Adam was created before Eve. So tomorrow our Christmas Eve service will be at 4:30. All families are welcome. We will have candles for those of you who are old enough to be able to hold a flame, and we'll have glow sticks for those who are younger. We also, if you have some more rambunctious kids, we'll have some spots set up in our fellowship hall. So if your kids need to go run around and burn off some energy, that will be set up for you as well. I wanted to, as well to talk about giving. Thank you all for so many of your various contributions. We need about $50,000 more dollars between now and the end of the year to close out our general fund giving in a healthy financial place. God has been above and beyond generous to us through you over my number of years here. So thank you for your faithful and generous giving over those time periods. With that, a subset of that is the mortgage match. So I got a text this morning, so I just wanted to explain a little bit about that. So we have a donor in the church that has offered $250,000 matching to pay down our mortgage. If we can raise $250,000 from the congregation, that means that our what we owe left on our mortgage will about be cut in half. What we're planning to do with that money is re-amortize, which I had no clue about until like a year ago. So this is all brand new news to me. What you can do with reamortization is you can pay a lower monthly amount and then have the mortgage be paid off at the same date. So I think our last payment, I know it's 2031. I think it's May of 2031 that our last mortgage payment is going to be made. So as of right now, we pay a little over, I think, $17,000 a month just to the mortgage of the building that we built in 2005. So this will cut that in half down, so saving us like $8,000 to $9,000 a month. So the way the donor has decided to go forward with this is they'll give $50,000 of seed money, and then as $50,000 comes in from the congregation, they'll give another 50, and then as that 50 comes in, they'll give another 50. So with where we're at right now, the donor has contributed $150,000 to get us moving forward to the 150 from the congregation. As of last week, I think we're 1,000 or so away from 100,000 from the congregation, which means as of like whenever that check comes through, we'll be at about $250,000 given to the mortgage match, which is just incredible. So again, I'm sharing these things with you as a way to thank you and to give thanks to God for the ways that He continues abundantly providing for us, for our church, through many of you. Again, as I always, if you have questions about this, feel free to reach out to me or Micah or any one of the elders. We'd love to answer any of the questions that you might have about that. The last thing I want to make you aware of is the last Sunday of the month, we do what I'm just calling Sharing Sunday. Throughout the Old Testament, the Israelites were often commanded to build stones of remembrance, which in the Hebrew is Ebenezer. So when we sing the song, "Here I raise my Ebenezer," what I'm doing is, or what is being described, is raising up this memory marker of God's provision for us. And those were built specifically to give thanks to God for His provision. So a couple of years ago, we started this now tradition where the last Sunday of the year, we just take time to ask you from the congregation to share some things that you're thankful for the past year. But this year, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So there's going to be 3 different times of sharing throughout our service on Sunday. The first is something that you learned about God from the past year. So something, be thinking, praying, processing, like what is something new that you learned about God? The second is something that you're overflowing with gratitude for from the past year. So this comes out of what I talked about on Sunday. One of the things that we're commanded to do is be overflowing with gratitude for God's provision for us. So we'll spend some time talking about those things that we are overflowing with gratitude for. And the third is, what are some things that you're asking God to do either in you or through you or for you in the coming year? So 3 movements. First is something you learn about God. Second is something you're overflowing with gratitude for. And third is something you're asking God to do in the coming year. Each one of these has been really meaningful and significant for me to just hear some of the things that God has been teaching all of the people in our congregation. So I'd encourage you, take some time this week and think and process and ponder what has God done in your life over the past year, and be ready to share that with the rest of the congregation on Sunday. Again, I hope to see many of you tomorrow night at 4:30. I'm excited for our Christmas celebration together, and I hope all of you have a very Merry Christmas as well with family as you travel, whatever else is going on. I'm really grateful for all of you, for your serving, for your prayer, for your commitment to our church, and I'm excited to see what God continues doing in us and through us in the coming year. Merry Christmas.